Throughout the 80s, Philadelphia gore punk had a best friend in Paul Bear. Wow, this is a very revealing read, let me tell you. A bad junk habit drove him from Philly in 1993, but he got clean during his exile in Virginia and Ohio and discovered his talent as an author and memoirist. He plied that trade in skywriting at night, a transgressive, Kathy Acker-like work, wisely riddled with ill will and antisocial immorality. Apparently, he got friendly with diabolical author and musician Nick Cave, who told Bear that he had found his writing raw and unflinching. Please, a big round of applause and welcome to the stage, Mr. Paul Bear.
All about is actually based on actual events. Oh shit. It's really, oh my god, I can't even see this from. Alright. Well, I bet Kathy Acker got a lot more pussy than me, though. I didn't do too badly. Anyway, yeah, I'm Paul Bearer. I've been rotting around this town for a while. I'm older than I look. I'm smarter than I look. Everybody is smarter than I look. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I couldn't have written a better one for myself. I'm just assuming your tux is at the dry cleaners, right? Okay. I was always told, you know, you dress up to seize a stage. Anyway, so yeah, I wrote this book. I've lived a very crazy ad hoc existence, and the book is still being formatted and made fit for somewhat decent people to consume and understand, and it's really excessively wretched and wretchedly excessive, and it's just a fun ride, you know, through misanthropy, dope, and pussy, and there's lots of crazy stories. And I figured for this burlesque rendering, I would do one that involved sex, you know, because you might not know it to look at me, but I'm an ass-crushing juggernaut. I mean, the quality of women I've rolled over is just astounding. It just like, as long as there's women with really low self-esteem who hate their fathers, guys like me can get laid. So, cheers. Anyway, I'm gonna read this little story about my naval career. And when I talk about my naval career, I'm not talking about my belly button. And I'm gonna try and read it. And if I can see it, I'll read it, because it's like reading is the next big thing, I'm told. It's like, you know, are you people ready to get read at? All right, well, I'm gonna give it my best shot. And if I can see okay through my fucking profound myopia, I'll continue to read it. And if I can't, then I'll just deliver an extemporaneous version to y'all. Okay, did the kids go outside? Because I work really blue. Okay, good. Throw them on the bar. Smoke well, yeah. Before I forget my manners, as I'm often prone to do, contrary to popular opinion and what you might have read on internet chat sites, I am actually in possession of a biological heart. And from the depths of its inky black creases, I just want to say thank you all for your kind indulgence. And thank you especially to Stephanie for letting me disgrace her stage tonight. And man, I'm glad I didn't follow the flaming boobs, because I haven't practiced my penile rope tricks in quite a long time. Because that's really the only thing I can bust out on a physical level to, you know, equal up to fire tits. So, you know, I could, like, in my prime, I could do like some fucking cock rope tricks that would make Buffalo, no, not Buffalo Bill, the other guy, Wild Bill Hickok, roll over in his grave in awe and jealousy. But anyway, so it's circa like 82, 83 at this point. I've dropped out of college. I'm just wandering hither and thither, to and fro, from the next punk rock show to the next supplicating slut who will like find my dementia mildly curious and attractive. And I'm thinking, oh fuck, I'm really wayward, man. And my best friend, who typically housed me for long stretches, was doing a semester abroad in London. So I really didn't have anywhere free to stay. And my father convinced my brother, who was quite on his yuppie ascension at this point, to take me in. And together they could bring me in from the dark side to come back and achieve my manifest destiny as co-president of my father's plumbing supply agency. It all sounded so attractive, let me tell you. All right, so here we go. You ready? Hey, can we give me a little more like white light so I can, oh, that's fun. That's very polite of you guys. All right, here we go. You ready? Okay, this is just how it happened. So I sofa-surfed at Jack's for a fortnight. During the day, I was supposed to be beating the street for work while Jack toiled. But instead, I would take the cash per diem he doled for subway rides and lunch, and I would hightail it directly to Killer Corner on 17th and Mount Vernon to cop fat but seedy nickel sacks from La Raza. I'd pack bowls, get high, and while away time at the Muter Museum or with other wayward punks down on South Street. On a Thursday of that stay, I promised Dad, I don't know why actually, but I must have been high, I would take the ASVAB, that's the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery test, to see, they give you, a test to see if you will be a good killer. Was administered. It was cavernous and packed with ghetto schutz, cretins, and all manner of human flotsam and jetsam, all eager and willing to serve their country. Fucking marks and rubes, every fucking one of them, and how. Yet here I was in rank, pencil in hand, filling in the SAT like ovals on a Scantron. A few years of wholesale toxification had not dulled the synapses yet, so I breezed through the 2-hour exam in roughly 40 minutes. The results were tabulated, and voila, I had cracked a 98.3. Fuck yeah. 2 blue-clad cats from the USN were on me like stink on a deuce, trying to sell me on the Navy. Okay, switch hands. Did I make that look graceful? Good. That was a rhetorical question. I don't give a fuck what you think. No, I'm just kidding. Play nice. All right, pencil in. Okay, gets good here. Mr. Hyman, the first blue blazer piped in, with your ASVAB scores, you are a perfect candidate to ascend to an officer's rank in the USN. And I say, when I'm facing this way, this is me. When I'm facing this way, I'm portraying a naval recruiter, and I will designate thusly by like different vocal inflections, and just like on TV. With your ASVAB scores, you're a perfect candidate to ascend officer's rank. Cool. Cool. But I got this hip dysplasia. It kind of impairs me some. Naval recruiter. We can circumvent that, Paul, the other middy opined. Apparently, judging from the ilk of the ASVAB takers and their sub-mongoloid aggregate test scores, the Navy was willing to overlook soundness of body in favor of my obvious sharpness of mind, a true premium in the simian strain of the testing brood. It was a confederacy of dunces to the nth degree. Indeed it was. The first CPO Sharky pitched to me thusly, Paul, with your scores, you have the potential to rise in the Navy. If you wanted to, you could be piloting nuclear submarines. We could have you in officer's school with commensurate wages within 6 months. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. Perhaps I envisioned myself as Richard Basehart on board the Seaview on voyage to the bottom of the sea. Perhaps I liked the sound of Captain Hyman, or better yet, Admiral Hyman, or whatever. But before I could check myself, I found myself signing a letter of intent to enlist. Number 2 finished with this: We'll pick you up at 0700 hours, take you for a physical, and once we dispense with those formalities, we'll have you shipped to Norfolk in time for chow Saturday night. Welcome to the Navy, Mr. Hyman. And with that, the two starched recruiters tersely saluted me just like that. They did a 180 and they dipped, leaving me stupefied and confused. It seems that the sound of officers' pay overrided all sense and sensibility. Somebody cue the village people. I was in the Navy. Okay, so I've signed this letter of intent to join the Navy. I'm 23 years old. I'm living on sex, dope, and pussy, and somehow I've convinced myself I could, make this work. I mean, my father was busy opining to me that if I didn't find something that would avail me a marketable skill like driving nuclear submarines, then at 53, I would be a wayward vagabond with no visible means of support. Fancy that. Okay. The whole meander back to my brother's was surreal. It dawned on me I had just signed on for a 4-year commitment, and I did not do commitment very well back then. Nor did I excel in compliance, structure, respect for authority, or any of the other rudiments I needed to do the USN. Oh, it was a bad move, Hyman. Pilot nuclear submarines. Fuck, man, I didn't even have a goddamn driver's license. Joke's on who? All right, turn the page. Not the Bob Seger song, I hate him. When I got to my brother's, I was in a panic. I was immediately looking for a Dodge. Surely my polytoxic urine screen would earn me the old heave-ho, wouldn't it? I convinced myself my poison piss would preclude duty, but I could not shake the lingering doubt that if my brilliance outweighed my gimp, maybe it would also override my zealous drug-taking too. Lordy Lord, what a conundrum. It was only a slight detour to cop weed at 17th and Mount Vernon, so I sashayed that away before beating back to Jack's place. My brain pan was buzzing with what-ifs and what the fucks. It was late afternoon when I finally hit my brother's spot. The weed I blared on the hoof served to both soothe and agitate me. I had pretty much reached a totally fucking mindset. I realized in a moment of weakness I had painted myself into the proverbial corner and decided to let the chips fall where they may. Come tomorrow, I would be bound to serve, or by some intercession I would ditch the hitch. In my head, I knew I would surely end up in the brig, keelhauled, or go AWOL. Is AWOL just the Army, or is anyone here? I was in the KISS Army and the Salvation Army, but, and the YMCA, and other village people reference there, and they lied. It was not fun. Unless your idea of fun is mentally ill people background checking you in the shower at 4 a.m., Yeah, I was off the cuff. See, I just go wherever I want, and it's I have temporal lobe disorder, so it's we could end up at the ballet by the time the sofa gets brought to the corral, but I don't know. All right, so, you know what? I can't really focus on this, so I'm just going to tell you the rest of the story. This way it proves I can fucking write like I'm the fucking total Ric Flair of writing, but even more, I'm just so witty. I'm at least half witty most of the time, but sometimes I fire on, I still have a few synapses that fire efficiently and I sound relatively cohesive and lucid, but I can tell by the looks of you, you're a savvy crowd and aren't fooled at all. So anyway, I get back to my brother's and I realize, oh fuck, I've signed on for this Navy thing, and I'm like, fuck it. If I'm gonna go in the Navy and cut my hair and, wear white, I'm gonna go out and get totally fucking tore up tonight. So I do a bunch of crank, which is what meth was when it was good. And I'm like at my brother's place, and he's out of town. He's at a trade show, like earning big money, you know, and I'm at his place down on Rittenhouse Square. So I make like a steak, and I crack open like a $90 bottle of wine, and I just fucking house it. I don't even think I used one of his fine goblets to like let it breathe into can. I just went at it quite alcoholically. And like a few hours later, I'm like, fuck it, you know, I'll go out to the club. So I go down to this club at 13th and Chestnut, if any of you are familiar with the Philadelphia Metropolitan downtown lexicon. So I fucking, you know, walk, it's like 12 blocks. I'm high on speed, I get there quick, I look amazing, and I get in there, and Miguel was like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, oh, dude, I fucked up, you know. It's like, and I tell him my woeful tale, and give him the whole lamentable bent, and he gives me a double shot of Crown, and, you know, I medicate with that, and I'm just, like, really feeling good. And all of a sudden, I look across the bar, and I'm still, like, you know, like I'm young, you know, pretty, and I see this chick, and there's something about her that resonates with me, and she's totally eye-fucking me, you know, like not unlike most of your women out there, you know, but it's my cross to bear, the scourge of popularity and rabid sex appeal. Oh well, anyway, so she's looking at me, and all of a sudden it fucking clicks, I get the epiphany. I'm like, oh shit, that's Karen Lieberman. And Karen Lieberman was one of the only Jewish chicks I ever notched, because, you know, I tried to eschew mating within my bloodline just to, like, earn my parents' further disdain and disappointment. But, so I go up to her and I'm like, do you remember me? Because, like, the last time I'd seen her was a few years prior, when my parents came home early and caught me and Karen trysting in my bed, where I was performing French pleasures on her vigorously, thoroughly, and effectively. And my mom walked in and caught us, and she threw the covers up my head and slapped my head, you know, slapped my fucking dome like Benny Hill did the old guy. So it was just a bad scene. So anyway, there she is. And she looks fucking really tasty too. So I'm like, hey, you remember me? She's like, yeah, fuck yeah, I remember you, you know? And we, like, you know, I charm her over, you know, she's no longer resentful at me having put her in a, you know, an indiscreet place, bad time. My mother seeing her getting kind of lingified. And and we start making chit chat, and the next thing she knows, she's like, you want to go in the bathroom and do some coke? And I'm like, well, yes, I would, actually. So we go in the bathroom, and she chops out rails on the back of the toilet, and we whiff up some coke. Am I boring you? I mean, I'm up here talking. If you want to go outside and have a conversation, it wouldn't impede me at all. I mean, but I don't want to, like, you know, try and drown you guys out or anything. Oh, sorry. All right. So anyway, so we're in the bathroom, we're doing coke, and I'm like totally like all up on her and shit. And she's digging my moxie, my curious ardor. Not to be confused with Julie Arter, one of the guests of honor. But anyway, so I'm like, hey, why don't we go back to like where I'm staying? It's pretty plush, you know. So, but it turns out she's a stripper on Admiral Wilson Boulevard, but her and her girlfriends like to come over the bridge to party. And it was one of the first times I've ever heard party used as a verb. So she was definitely a forerunner in mutating the mother palate of English. But anyway, so we take a cab back to my brother's place, and it's like, we're fucking just, it's on like Vietnam. It's like saturation bombing, and like we're drinking my brother's $80 wines. He was really big on Italian reds at that point, like Chiantis and Barolos and Baronis. It was good times. And we're doing all this coke, and I had been sneaking off and doing bumps of speed because it just made me really want to just fuck very aggressively. And we go to my brother's bed, and we just like defile each other in all the most creative ways possible, you know. And she's a filthy little skeezer who can't have enough dick and I'm young and so fueled on high octane drugs that I'm just like raining dick into her like artillery, man. I'm just like, her fucking tits are shaking, and she's just like, calling out to her higher power, and it's like, and I know and at this point, like, any thought of the whole Navy thing is not even an afterthought at this point. It just like was eliminated. It was, it had been supplanted. So, around 5 a.m. we succumbed to unconsciousness because, cocaine and benzos and weed and Italian wine, it's like, you don't really sleep, you don't go to sleep on that, you just literally like kind of shut off, And so I just go lights out, And my next conscious memory is a very rude and aggressive leaning on of the doorbell, which sounded like one of those, like, it's like not a very passive doorbell at all, it was loud and buzzy, and it was just unpleasant in any state of mind. So anyway, I'm like, oh fuck, what the fuck is that, And all of a sudden, I have this snap back to reality, this moment of lucidity, and I realize that it's the two cats from the Navy coming to scoop me up for my physical. And I'm like, oh fuck. And all of a sudden, like I said, I have not like had too much head trauma at this juncture of my life, or done too much like, over medicating to the point of like where I couldn't really fucking sort shit out quick. I was really fucking clever then. Don't do drugs. I was just kidding. Do all you want. They never hurt me none. I'm totally wet on PCP right now. That explains everything. So anyway, so Karen is just like out. She hasn't even heard the abrasive ringing of the buzzer. And I look over on the floor, and there's her leopard skin chonies just like lying there on the floor. And this was pre-thong, so I'm thinking, fuck man, here we go. So I just fucking grab her skivvies, and I just fucking sashay into them. And she's, a little girl, and I'm very lean and gaunt at this point. Wasn't really making much emphasis on eating, so, unless it was at the Y. But so I slip into her fucking leopard panties, and I look, and there's my brother's big mirror, and my hair just looks like a fucking Barbie doll that had been left in the rain, and then the kid comes out and gets it in the morning. And my eyes look a lot like, one of those Tex Avery, like fucking wolves, just like, googling out of my fucking dome. So I'm like, fuck it, here we go. So I fucking, get comfy in her drawers, and I go, and they're not at the apartment door. You gotta leave the apartment, which is in the back of the building, and walk through a hall to get to the common front door of the building. So I'm like totally fucking styling and profiling in Karen's leopard panties and my fucking fright wig and my fucking horror show eyes. And I open the door, and there's these two Navy guys, and it's not the same two dudes from the day before. They sent some fresh midshipmen to, take me for my officer's candidate training. And they're like, we're looking for Paul and Hyman. And at this point, I can feel the cold morning air on my Jew baby makers, which are fucking hanging, precariously out of the leg holes of Karen's size 6 panties. And I'm like, oh yeah, man, I'm Paul Hyman. I was having a little going away party last night. Give me 5 minutes to get ready. And at that point, they just said, never mind. And just like turned and walked away. And that was it, And as simple as that, I was freed from my 4-year commitment and 4-year hitch, because they don't like homosexuals in the U.S. military, even if they're not, They just didn't want me. And just as much, I didn't want them, so it all worked out. But that's the way it was, man, and there's all kinds of stories like that in my crazy little book. So if any of you are interested in helping me publish it or edit it, or would just merely be curious to read it, you can come and talk to me. Do I have any time left? I mean, I have absolutely no concept of time. Well, I will say, I'll just do this one last little thing. Yeah, this is real quick, man. This is gonna be funny. I swear, I wouldn't lie to you, we're not married. So a couple years ago, remember any of you locals, they tried to open that Hustler store down the street. And I'm thinking, this is the perfect gig for me, you know? And I hadn't held a job since I was an adolescent's babysitter at a drug and alcohol treatment center. You know, lunatics guard the asylum, but anyway, so I send them a resume, you know, and they call me. It's like, hey, we'd like to come in and have you talk to us about a job, you know, at the Hustler store. So I go to the Hustler store, and, you know, I'm Natalie attired, and I smell good, and I'm clean and sober, and, you know, and the guy that's interviewing me, he's kind of like a punky sort, you know, like punky, like, you know, hair product and a shirt from Hot Topics, but disingenuine, but you know. Anyway, so he's talking to me, and we run through the standard battery of questions, and he finishes with this, and he's like, so I asked this to every candidate. He's like, why do you want to work at the Hustler store? And I'm like, well, I said, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Larry Flint, for everything he's done for First Amendment protection and expansion. I think it's amazing. Second of all, I like the idea of working for a company that has a worldwide brand recognition that's edgy and taboo. But mostly, and most important, I just fucking love pussy. And I don't know if he was impressed with that or not, but I never received a call for a second interview. And, you know, and okay, here's how it rolls. We all know the Hustler store is now an auto title place, because without, you know, the Jewish Jesse James as their fucking primary dildo and butt plug salesman, like, you know, off the fucking chart quotas, would you like to wear that home, or do you want me to put it in, you know, it's like, where are they now? You know? So, it's been a pleasure, it's been a privilege, they were both yours, but I enjoyed myself some too. Thanks a lot, cheers.